Hello and welcome to another episode of the Electric Dimension. I'm Mats. Now we're in the new Fiat 500. If you have Fiat 500e, it's a beautiful sea green. It is a wonderful, beautiful winter's day. This is about as far from the Italian Riviera that you can come. But I love this car. I really liked the previous version, although that was a true car made for the Californian market and wasn't really electric at all, just thrown it together. But this is built from ground up to be an electric car. So let's take it out on our test route and see how it manages. So the car is indicated 99. Or, well, now it was 99 when I picked it up. Now it's at 97%, indicating 278 kilometers of range. It says it's -5, but I think it's closer to -8. It's a cold day. It's slightly icy on the roads. So the test route is around 200 kilometers. So it's going to be interesting to see how it fares. It's a mix of motorway and country roads. What I can say straight away is that they have really updated the interior. The previous one was in production in 10 years or so, I think. It's not that long ago when they went out of production. So and they never updated the interior, so it just looked old. This new one, you have big screen, kind of like a big iPhone screen on in the center here. Very easy to use. Big buttons, easy to. I like it a lot. And you below that you have your HVAC. So you know, and then you have your instrument binnacle, which is big and clear and show your speed, and your trip computer and a lot of other data. If you want to show your nav, you can do that. It looks like a very well thought out system, but let's have a test drive and see. The seats are nice, nothing particular, but nice. And you have this big open space in between the seats with some scroll wheels for navigation and drive modes and the cup holder and stuff. Yeah, it's a nice riding car. It's quite peppy as well. Not very quick, of course, but considering what it is, I like it a lot. All the media controls they're kind of scattered a bit about, because the volume control, it's on this console between the seats. And then it also has buttons, which I suddenly found behind the steering wheel to run volume and source and stuff. That's kind of a little bit optimistic, because the car is so tiny that you have no problems reaching whatever buttons there is. But they're there if you want to use them. Region is a little bit abrupt sometimes, or maybe that is just the brakes. Yes, the brakes. When you go on the brake pedal, it sort of can be a little bit abrupt and quick, catch you out. And there's no feel in the steering, and there's not much feel in the car as a whole either. So on surfaces like this, you really want some communication, but you don't have it. So you know, just be careful. We're at 78% battery, indicates 184 kilometers of range. So far so good. Yes, it's a very user-friendly, clearly marked interior, and the buttons are clear. And yes, there's some plastics in here, but who cares? It looks nice. And it's relatively quiet. There's some tire noise from the rear wheels, but I'm surprised. Yeah, it's a marked improvement over the previous car, which was too stiffly sprung, didn't have any range, and was more of a toy than anything else. This is actually a car that you can use. We're now driving around. It's a cold winter's day. I know some Norwegians will say, oh, it's only -8 degrees, that's not cold. Well, for most parts of the world, -8 degrees is a proper winter. So it is relevant, after all. on the motorway. Well, consumption went up. That's clear. Both the indicated range and the percentage is falling much quicker now than it has been. Because we've been on the country road driving for an hour, had an average speed of around 60-70 kilometers. They haven't used very much energy at all, been very nice. Not very noisy as well. Of course, I come from a Hyundai Ioniq and I come from a Model 3, so I'm not exactly used to Audi levels of quiet. But I'm impressed. But it's far worse cars than this, considering its size in the market. It's meant to be just a small city car. Adaptive Cruise doing its thing. It has a sort of lane keep system. It's not very good, but it's there working away, or at least trying to. There was a lot of screaming around when Tesla suddenly said, we're going to give you buttons to indicate instead of the gear stop. That's one of the things I always like with old American cars. But hey, buttons on the dashboard or on the screen, there's nothing new there. Okay? People have had buttons for gear indicators for years. Astons have had them for many times over the last 20 years alone. And this original C4 Cactus had it, and there's been many others. So it's relax, keep your ponies, and just, chill. No worries, we're gonna fix this. This car is so small that I sometimes feel like you just want to pick it up and take it with you home and put it in the living room or something. Of course, there's nothing like as small as the original Cinquecento, which is truly tiny. And I'm sure this car weighs quite a lot more than that as well. The range has just fallen from around 150 to now 123. Yes, we have to charge at some point on our journey. I'm not worried, with 60%. So we have, and there's plenty of chargers on this route. There's two reasons why I think this route is very nice to run. First, it's long enough. First, it's short enough that most cars should be able to go through it, but long enough and varied. You have an average and the consumption and stuff that reflects many people's daily use. And there's plenty of chargers on it, so if you have to charge somewhere, you're never really running out of options. That's nice. And on a cold day like today, even though the cold isn't the biggest enemy of the electric car, the biggest enemy of the electric car is speed and road conditions. A wet road sucks a lot more energy than a cold road does. Today is relatively dry after all, so that's not the issue. We have the heater running, of course, on 120 degrees. And the speed is about 110 kilometers an hour on the cruise control. So that just shows this car is the most aerodynamic. But of course, it's not designed to be. It's designed to be a Fiat 500. It happens to be electric. Yes, you can just use Siri, or I'm sure it also has Android Auto, so you can just use that. And it will indicate you to the closest charger, no problems at all, so you're not really worried about that either. It just shows that you can do travels like this without any worries in a tiny little city car, even in the winter. If you live in a city somewhere, you don't want a big car, but you want range. You want to be able to travel in it, or at least take a trip out on a day like we do now. You can. You no longer have to have a Model S like that, for instance. You can do things now that you couldn't do 5 years ago in a Leaf or an e-Soul or whatever. Or you could do it, but it'd just be hassle. This is hassle-free. I'm sitting here, I'm warm. I'm not worried about the range. You've integrated the charging infrastructure in a different way. You don't have to fiddle about it, have badly set up infotainment on a list of chargers that aren't updated anyway, so they're sort of irrelevant. Like you had to do not that long ago. It really has become a much more user-friendly world in a very short amount of time. And that's a good thing. That's something to be celebrated. We're now in Moss, where we're at 23%. We have an indicated 38 kilometers of range, and we have 30 kilometers around, 30 kilometers back home. So this is going to be a tight one. And the whole trip, round trip, I think is around 200 kilometers or 170 or thereabouts. So if you can do that, and I've been driving quite quickly at the motorway where I can, so I've been really pushing this little thing. 14% now. First, and I got a blinking battery, and I got a yellow. The whole percent indicator has become yellow, and I've got the warning: charge now, charge low. We're now at 11%. I didn't stop at the road to charge because it was full, so I'm going down to the next stop. But that's what happens. You're traveling with an EV, you know, and everything. You can end up situations like that. You just have to go onwards. Now it really wants to charge. Really wants to charge. It's nagging me. I can hear that. We've had an average speed of around 80-90 kilometers an hour, and temperature of, I think, an average of around -6. And that's, you can do 150 kilometers on this in these conditions. It can easily do 200 in the city, and in the summer it can do much more than that. So as a city proposal, as a, you know, more local car, it can handle that without even breaking a sweat, and you can even take this on longer road trips. Now let's just find the charger, plug it in, and see how it charges. This is wonderful. Look, it says charge electric car, low battery. So it sends push warnings to your phones. That's a good thing. That's really nice. So now we're at 27%. We charged for about 15 minutes maybe. I don't even think we charged that for that much time. I must say the stereo, the sound system is really good. Not quite as good as in the Mini, but almost. It's in Norway. This is a car. It's 300,000 NOK, and you get a lot of car for the money. I must say, I love this green color as well of this particular example. And the range is more than good enough for most people, and it's really good. Yes, it isn't the most aerodynamic car in the world, but hey, that's not the primary reason you buy this thing, is it? And on a day like today, the range we've gotten out of it, I'm not worried, and you can easily do probably 300 kilometers in the summer in this thing. So, sorry, the camera was, for all intents and purposes, running out of power, so I have to just wrap it up back home. That's 150 kilometers of mixed driving on a cold winter's day. You've seen, you know how that worked. But it's more than enough for what's basically a city car. I've drove it relatively hard the last 7 or the last 80 kilometers or so. You could probably do even more than that. Space, when you sit and drive it, it feels like a big car. Yeah, even you were a bit surprised because you were only in it for the last bit there.
Yeah, but Fiat has still made a sassy European city car, iconic car.
It looks like a 500.
Yeah, it looks like a 500. It feels like a 500. it is a 500, it's only electric. And finally we here in Europe also can get the 500 electric,
Yeah,
new, not used from Mexico.
So what do you think of the updated interior? Because the last one was in production for 12. It's basically a very old car by the time.
And they have built the car. It's still 500. You feel it's a 500, but it's built like it's supposed to and should be in 2021.
Yeah, in modern days.
Yeah. I struggled to get to the lever to adjust the height of the seat because I was sitting a bit too high.
You get used to it, I would imagine.
Yeah. But other than that, I felt it was, since the seat was so high up, it was easy to get in and out of the car.
Yeah, and that's good.
Yeah, so it's on that side it's Robert approved. So
I haven't had time to test the lights, but I'm sure I could borrow it again if I need to. Because the salesman said it was just a call, and it's really there's the same people who also sell Sexpack, and they said they were just throwing cars at people now.
yeah,
The X-Banks are selling very well, and also I asked about because in Norway and Sweden everybody wants a station wagon or an SUV basically. So the 500 is more of a European thing, a Central European thing, but they do sell not very well, but they sell all right.
now they have gotten two new car manufacturers in Xpeng and Fiat. Both are new for Sarpsborg Bilsenter.
Yeah, one of them is just very new, the other one is very established, but sure.
They are new for them.
I mean, but just to impressed by the range, impressed by the feel of it, because it doesn't feel like a small car until you turn your head and you can see basically the back window, and it's just so easy to drive and so easy to live with, and it charges fairly quickly as well.
I would love to have the Fiat 500 when we drove around in the French villages when we were on the continent.
Oh, I agree.
It would have been a fun trip.
Except it does devour quite a bit of energy on the motorway, but if you look at the most sold electric car in Europe, which is the Renault Zoe,
Yeah.
says more than Tesla Model 3 does in Europe. Why? Because it's decently priced. The car is priced at around $32,000, by the way. It's decently priced. It has decent range, and it's sized fairly well for Central Europe.
Yeah.
And I think the Fiat 500 can do pretty well there.
I think so. I think maybe the Zoe would have a competitor.
Yeah, and I just never really had that before until now.
Never.
Because the what's it called? The Leaf. It's not the same thing.
No. But you also have the 208.
Yeah, now, yeah.
That's also the 208, the Zoe, and the
Mini.
and the Fiat. I think those three cars will compete on about the same market. The Mini is a little bit more exclusive, I think.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I can't even complain on the infotainment system because it was very good. I really wasn't. It wasn't. You found everything you were supposed to find, and it just. The more I looked into it, the better it got, unlike many others. So well done, Fiat. Let's hope they keep up with the rest of the product line. Now that they got into the PSA group as the Stellantis.
Yes.
So I think that's it, everybody. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. And we will see you in the next one.
Take care about yourself and your relatives.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.